We all make mistakes, right? Apparently you do more. And have you ever had a moment in your life where you thought the mistake you did was very small, but the price you paid was very big? Think about it. Last week I was in Uzbekistan, crossing from the border to Kazakhstan by land. I gave my passport to the passport police. He asked me, "Where's your registration?" What registration? You need to have a registration if you're staying longer than 3 days here. You need to register your address. Okay, but I don't know it was that serious, I'm sorry. Follow me. After following 4 or 5 different police officers, soldiers, etc., etc., I was put in a room that had 2 jail cells in it. My initial reaction was, okay, most probably I'll spend a few minutes here and then they'll scold me and then I'll be on my way. However, that wasn't the case. They locked the door behind me. And I waited for an hour.
Do you have a key for that?
I waited for 2 hours.
Okay, the key is down.
I waited for 3 hours. I waited for 4 hours. And then a police officer came, finally. They got my statement, blah, blah, blah. And then again I thought, okay, this should be over. They would scold me and send me to my way to Kazakhstan. No. They put me in a car. We drove somewhere. I have no idea where. I didn't have a bag on my face at least. So. And then I went to the police station, to the immigration office. And they gave my passport to a police officer, who looked at it and said something to me in Uzbek, their language, and I said, sorry, but I don't understand. And he said, almost scolding me, what don't you understand? You'll be deported. Back then it sounded bad, but in one day I was going to wish I was deported. My friend came, he picked me up because it was almost evening. They said, okay, go to his home. Your passport is here, come back tomorrow morning. But imagine the stress I lived through that night. Not because I was afraid of what was going to happen to me, which was scary as well, but the most scary part was the uncertainty of what was going to happen. We were speculating about it. And then in the morning, of course, I woke up because I never slept, and then we went there. And they said, okay, you have to pay a fine. And then to my friend, because they assumed automatically that he hosted me, that you have to pay a fine as well. And then I said, he didn't host me, he's just helping me out. And then he said, then you have to give the address of the person who hosted you, because I stayed at a friend's house. But I said, I'm not going to do it, because I don't want him to be in trouble. So the police took me to his officer's room. He said something, and then the guy said, which was translated to me, send him to prison for a month, so he can think about his decision. And then I said, okay, I want to be deported. But, long story short, my friend had some contacts, blah, blah, sport, blah, blah. So what happened at the end, it wasn't pleasant. I paid my fine, which wasn't too little. And then I paid the fine of the guy who hosted me without giving his address, because I know that's a lot of money for them. And I didn't want him to be in a blacklist, where they would always be suspicious of him. And then I went to the police officer again from the immigration. He took out his stamp and he stamped my passport. So I was free. And then he said, this time a bit more polite, he told me, do your registration next time. I said, I will, don't worry. And then I reached out my hand. I shook his hand. Because I felt no animosity towards him, even though he was rude. And I know he was trying to squeeze out the situation and abuse his power. But he was also doing his job, so that was okay, to some extent. But what was even more important to me, why I shook his hand, was because this was a very huge lesson for me. First of all, to follow the rules and procedures, especially if you're in a country that you have not much information about, because the smallest thing for you can be a major thing there. And secondly, Imagine I was having a good time in Uzbekistan for a week. And then while I was crossing the border, I was in prison for 4 hours. I could have been in prison longer. So at one moment, my life changed, downhill. And that reminded me to savor every moment and value every moment and not take it for granted. And that's why I shook his hand. I said, thank you, took my passport, and quickly went to the border, of course. And then I gave the passport to the border police. He looked at this strange stamp that he never saw before. So my passport was walking around for 10-15 minutes to be checked, and my heart was... And then the guy came, looked at me, stamped my passport, gave it to me, and I was like... And as I was crossing the border, I felt like my heart was able to breathe again. And I took my bag, I took my passport. I was walking from the green line from Uzbekistan to Kazakhstan, and at the middle of the way, I just stood, closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and thanked the universe for this huge lesson. And then I went on my way. I just moved on, as I always try to do. Thank you very much.